On January 23, 2026, Intel's stock plummeted 14% in a single day, a staggering blow that erased over $35 billion from its market value. The sudden drop sent shockwaves through the financial world, catching even seasoned investors off guard. For a company as established as Intel, such a dramatic fall was almost unthinkable, and it immediately became the talk of Wall Street and tech circles alike. This wasn't a minor dip, it was a global shockwave, with shares tumbling in both the US and Europe. The ripple effect was felt across international markets, as investors scrambled to reassess their positions. News outlets around the world reported on the event, highlighting the vulnerability of even the most powerful tech companies. The loss was more than numbers. It hit Intel's reputation and raised tough questions about its future. Industry analysts began to speculate about the underlying causes, from missed earnings to increased competition, and whether Intel could adapt quickly enough to changing market demands. For a tech giant long seen as unshakable, the sudden collapse forced a reckoning at every level of the company. Executives were called into emergency meetings, and employees faced uncertainty about what the future might hold. The atmosphere inside Intel's offices was tense, as everyone waited for answers and a plan forward. The event underscored a harsh truth. In tech, even the biggest players aren't immune to market pressures. The competitive landscape is always shifting, and a single misstep can have massive consequences. Other tech giants watched closely, knowing that they too could face similar challenges. Intel's prestige took a hit, and the world was left wondering if the company could recover. Headlines questioned the company's strategy, and investors debated whether this was a temporary setback or the start of a longer decline. The $35 billion loss was a wake-up call for leadership, employees, and investors alike. It forced everyone connected to Intel to reconsider their expectations and priorities, and to think about what changes might be necessary to restore confidence. In the fast-paced world of technology, no company is too big to fail. Intel's dramatic fall served as a stark reminder that innovation, adaptability, and vigilance are essential for survival in an industry where fortunes can change overnight. The sell-off was triggered by Intel's bleak financial forecast for the next quarter, one that fell far short of Wall Street's expectations. Investors had counted on Intel to ride the AI boom, but the company's own projections painted a much grimmer picture. The gap between analyst optimism and Intel's reality was stark, sparking immediate downgrades and panic selling. The disappointment was amplified by the fact that the tech sector overall was thriving. Intel's weak guidance suggested its problems were internal, not industry-wide. The market's faith in an Intel comeback story evaporated almost overnight. Investors realized the road ahead would be far tougher than they'd hoped. The result? A mass exodus from Intel's stock. At the heart of Intel's troubles was a supply chain crisis. Demand for server chips was soaring, driven by the explosive growth of artificial intelligence and cloud computing. As tech giants and startups alike raced to build smarter, faster systems, the need for high-performance CPUs reached unprecedented levels. But Intel couldn't keep up. The company's supply chain, once considered a model of efficiency, was suddenly overwhelmed by a perfect storm of global shortages, logistical bottlenecks, and surging orders. Data centers powering the AI revolution needed more CPUs, but Intel's factories were maxed out and still falling short. Even as machines ran around the clock, the gap between what customers wanted and what Intel could deliver kept widening. Customers faced delays, and Intel lost out on revenue it should have easily captured. For many clients, waiting simply wasn't an option. They needed chips now, not months from now. The irony was painful. Intel had the right products, but not enough of them. Shelves that should have been full sat empty, and the company's reputation for reliability began to slip. In a market moving at breakneck speed, being unable to deliver meant customers looked elsewhere. Competitors seized the moment, offering alternatives and winning over frustrated buyers. The supply shortfall wasn't just a missed opportunity, it risked long-term relationships and market share. Some deals were lost for good, and trust was eroded. For a company that prides itself on manufacturing, this was a major operational failure. The very foundation of Intel's business, its ability to make and deliver world-class chips, was suddenly in question. The AI dream was turning into a supply chain nightmare. Every missed shipment and delayed order chipped away at Intel's standing in the industry. Intel's inability to meet demand became the central reason for its weak outlook. The financial impact was immediate, but the long-term consequences loomed even larger. Investors saw a company unprepared for its own success and began to question whether Intel could ever regain its leadership in a rapidly changing world. Amid the chaos, Intel's CFO, David Zinsner, tried to steady nerves with a clear timeline for recovery. He admitted supply would hit rock bottom in Q1 2026, confirming more pain was ahead. But he also promised improvements starting in Q2, as new production capacity came online. This was the first real sign of hope if Intel could deliver. The market latched onto this timeline, making it a critical benchmark for the company's credibility. Any slip could trigger another crisis of confidence. The path to recovery was set, but execution had to be flawless. Investors would be watching every move. The next few months would determine if Intel could regain trust. The company's future now hinged on meeting this promise. Analysts didn't hold back. Intel's crisis was seen as a failure of planning and foresight. The company, once hailed as a symbol of innovation and operational excellence, suddenly found itself under intense scrutiny from all sides. Industry watchers and investors alike questioned how such a giant could misread the market so badly. Bernstein called it a woeful misjudgment of demand for server chips. This wasn't just a minor forecasting error, it was a fundamental misunderstanding of where the industry was headed, and it sent shockwaves through the tech world. Intel had underestimated the AI boom and failed to expand manufacturing in time. As competitors ramped up production to meet skyrocketing demand, Intel's factories lagged behind, unable to deliver the chips customers desperately needed. In semiconductors, capacity planning is a long game, and Intel played it too safe. Their conservative approach left them flat-footed, unable to pivot quickly when the market shifted. Some experts argued Intel's focus on future tech distracted from managing today's profitable products. By chasing tomorrow's breakthroughs, they neglected the core business that had always driven their success. The result? Lost sales, lost market share, and a self-inflicted wound. Customers turned to rivals, and investors lost confidence, sending Intel's stock tumbling. Intel's stumble wasn't about technology, it was about execution. The company had the talent and resources, but failed to bring them together at the right moment. The company's legendary operational discipline had faltered at the worst possible moment. Years of careful planning and process had given way to hesitation and missed opportunities. Better forecasting and agility could have averted the crisis. If Intel had been quicker to adapt, the story might have been very different. The verdict was clear. Intel's missteps were avoidable. The company's leadership had the information, but failed to act decisively when it mattered most. Now, the company faced a very public reckoning. The world was watching to see if Intel could learn from its mistakes and reclaim its place at the top of the industry. Intel's woes extended beyond data centers. Its core PC business was also under threat. A global memory chip shortage was driving up costs, forcing PC makers to raise prices. Higher prices meant weaker demand, putting further pressure on Intel's processor sales. The company was squeezed from both sides, booming demand it couldn't meet, and a PC market set to cool. The era of cheap, plentiful PCs was ending, at least for now. Even if Intel fixed its supply issues, a sluggish PC market loomed. The dual challenge made recovery even more complicated. Investors braced for a tough year ahead. Despite setbacks, Intel pinned its hopes on Panther Lake, a next-gen chip aimed at reclaiming PC market leadership. The chip promised major gains in performance and efficiency, targeting rival AMD's recent advances. Success depended on more than design. It required flawless manufacturing and a healthy PC market. Ongoing supply issues and rising component costs threatened to blunt Panther Lake's impact. Even a breakthrough product could struggle if launched into a weak market. Panther Lake was a critical piece of Intel's comeback, but no magic bullet. Investors were hopeful, but wary. The company's future rested on execution, not just innovation. The January crash was shocking because it followed a year of stunning gains for Intel's stock. In 2025, shares soared 84%, and the rally continued into early 2026. Investors had bought into Intel's turnaround, fueled by government support and big-name partnerships. The company's new Foundry business and rumored deals with giants like Nvidia added to the hype. Expectations were sky-high. Intel was priced for perfection. When the weak forecast hit, optimism turned to panic. The higher the climb, the harder the fall. The market's reaction was so severe because hopes had been so high. Intel's stumble shattered the narrative of an unstoppable comeback. All eyes turned to Intel's leadership for answers. CEO Lip Bhutan faced the challenge of restoring confidence while steering the company through crisis. The Foundry business, once a bright spot, now looked less certain as key deals remained in limbo. Intel's leaders had to fix immediate supply issues and deliver on long-term promises simultaneously. The company's credibility now depended on flawless execution. The next quarters would be a test of leadership and strategy. Investors wanted proof, not promises. Intel's vision for resurgence was ambitious, but the margin for error had vanished. The company's future would be decided by its ability to deliver, on time and at scale.